welcome to And Read Another Chapter, and I have a March wrap up here for you. The stack is kind of pitiful. I have 2 physical books to share with you that I'm holding right now. I actually have read one more physical book. Actually, I have 3 physical books to hold up for you, 1 ebook and 1 audiobook. And if I can think of anything else, I'll add it to that. I also edited a book, so technically I read that one too. Okay, so probably let's get this one out of the way. I actually did kind of a book review on the ebook I read as well as this one for my other channel. The other book is Living on Almost Nothing, and then there is this one, Creating Your Own Personal Money Map. I'm going to leave just a link to that video down below because I think it not only gives kind of a good review on it, my thoughts and everything. It's all summarized there. Also in the description box below is my Goodreads account, and in there you can kind of see what I'm reading, the reviews that I have left. If I've forgotten anything, I'll try to add a clip in here, but if life gets crazy and I don't get to that, check Goodreads. So there's that one, and then I'm going to just jump to the audiobook that it's not snowing. Squirrel. I don't know why the snowplow is out. It's not snowing. Okay. The audiobook that I read is the 4th one in the Amelia Peabody series. My husband and I have been kind of listening to this at night. We'll do either chapters, sometimes they're like hour longs, and so we don't make it all, so sometimes it takes, you know, a couple nights to get through a chapter. But it's kind of like our good night thing, which may or may not be good because we laugh so hard sometimes, and so you kind of get that energy up. You're not necessarily tired. But I have to say, even though I laughed so hard in this one, just Emerson reminds me of the father from Life with Father. I don't know if any of you, I know it was a book, I've never read the book, but I watched the movie as a kid with, it's the story of Clarence Day. And it has people that I will not even remember the actors and actresses' name. I'll leave it linked down below. It is a hilarious movie. It's a very old one. It's very old. It has to be like when they first started filming the movies. It's not a silent film, but it's like the next step up before they got really good. But it's hilarious. And the father in there reminds me so much of Emerson. Or Emerson reminds me of that father. So anyway, we're laughing. But honestly, the mystery of Lion in the Valley, or The Lion in the Valley, was my least favorite mystery. How do I not give it away without giving it away? It's kind of a trope. It's a trope I really don't like, and that's really much all I can say without destroying it. I think the Goodreads review has kind of like a spoiler alert, I think. So if you want to know what that is, you can go there, or you can message me and I'll tell you what it is. But honestly, it's like my least favorite. It feels like a cop-out for a good mystery. Like, okay, we got a good mystery going on here, but hey, we're just gonna throw this in there, and it's like, you could have gone so many directions with this, and you chose that one, and it just ruins it. It feels like a cop-out for a good mystery. That's the best I can say. If you follow my reviews for a while now, I believe I did this review on my channel, and that was for Maranatha. I think she rebranded it, so it's a different book, but I'll show you here. It's a Colleen Coble book, and it actually has a section that takes place in Bern, Indiana, which is where we used to live and one of the places that I love dearly. It had a lot of that similarities, and I don't like that mystery. I just don't like it. So in that aspect, it dropped down, but we're on to book 5 now of the Amelia Peabodys. We're listening to them with the narrator, Barbara Rosenblatt. I was able to get Audible for 99 cents for the next 3 months, and so with that Audible subscription, I'm able to have a library full, of audiobooks, and there's some that my kids are listening to for school right now. It's a great resource to have at my fingertips. So I have my son listening to a history book, my daughter is listening to, I think, one of the C.S. Lewis's, and then I have my husband is on a 3-day pastor's conference, and I was able to download the King James Version audio Bible for him so he could listen to that on his travels, because it's going to be like an 8-hour drive for him one way. So I downloaded the Bible app for him. This isn't sponsored by Audible, but if you want to sponsor me, email's down in the description. But it's been a great tool for our family. After 3 months, I hope I can get a good deal on that, because I don't know if I can really do $16 a month right now. But honestly, $16 a month for a huge library of audiobooks on top of a credit. I believe it's like 1 credit where you can purchase it and then you own the audiobook plus your library. It's a really good credit. So I actually like to use those credits to purchase big ticket items. So we've been kind of collecting the David McCullough books with those credits that I have been able to accumulate, and those can end up being like $24 sometimes as an audiobook. So those are really worth it to me for the $16 plus my library of a bunch of books. Okay, so there's my plug-in for Audible. It is a great resource, I think. But I know that there's other cheaper options out there. Chirp, I think, is one. I don't know anything about it. And I don't know if they work the same way. Okay, so, yeah, I'm on to the 5th Amelia Peabody. And we'll see how well I enjoy that. Okay, let's talk about these. Okay, so we're going to start with some of the positive things that I have to say about this book. Why? I just did this. Oh my gravy. You know those books where they talk about the cute flyaway hairs? Yeah, there's nothing cute about flyaway hair. We look like roosters with their little whatever. Things I liked about this series. This is the Murder, She Wrote series, not Jessica Fletcher, but Jessica Fletcher's great niece. And this is by Stephanie Kuhn, or I'm going to assume Kuhn. I'm going to move you back just a little bit. So this series was, my daughter showed it to me. We were at Barnes & Noble. She was trying to pick out a book. I was being very diligent in making sure that I did not purchase anything until my daughter showed me these series. And Murder, She Wrote is one of my favorite of all times. I literally watch it because I love to watch it because I love Angela Lansbury. I think she is just beautiful and poised, and she reminds me of a little bit more the American version. Here we go. The American version of Miss Marple. Maybe a little bit younger too. So, and I love Miss Marple. Miss Marple's one of my favorite Agatha Christie characters. So I saw these, and it's about the great niece, and I really wanted to read them. Now I did the good thing with my frugal mindedness that I'm trying to stay on top of, and I looked at my library, and none of my libraries had it. Then I looked on Hoopla and Audible and Libby, and they didn't have it. My Hoopla is connected to my library in California, and my Libby was connected to Indiana, as well as I can check my library here. But okay, things that I liked about these. There is almost no language in them. There is a couple of words. There is no F-bomb. There's 1 or 2 uses of "oh God," and I think "hell." And there's a couple more shady, stronger ones, but there's no F-bombs. What else did I like about this? There's no bedroom scenes. There's no bedroom scenes. And we are in a high school. Now, I had tried I think it was Sherlock Holmes's granddaughter and Watson's grandson. No, it wasn't granddaughter. He never got married. Great niece and Watson's grandson. I had tried that and I did not get past, I think, the first chapter because it had already had so much in there that I was like, nope, put it away. And I was really afraid this was going to go in a similar direction. It didn't. So I read both of them. There is a third and I think final book coming out later this year, September. I think it's September. Okay, so those were some positives. I do think she got better in the second book in terms of her mystery writing. So I'm assuming the third one will be even better than that. Let's just move on from there. So I finally figured out the family tree in the second book. So if you are not familiar with Murder, She Wrote, this may not mean anything to you. If you are, it is Grady's granddaughter. So Grady and Donna, her granddaughter, or their granddaughter is our main character here, Beatrice, or B, as she is known. So Grady and Donna had 2 boys. So her uncle Abe kind of plays a role in the second one. And then her father, because this was where I was a little bit confused. Her father married a black woman, and that's how she ends up biracial. So there's that. And then I believe Abe ends up marrying a black woman. So the author was trying to bring in different races. There is, the author is a psychologist. Not psychiatrist, psychologist. Yes, psychologist. And so that was kind of, a lot of the characters in here have some kind of mental health issue, some way, somehow, some form. And because of that, it was a little bit heavy in the sense that if everybody has the problem, then it kind of diminishes how we should respond to the problem. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I have a husband with clinical depression. And one of the things that is hard to show everybody and have everybody understand is that everybody has depression now. So nobody really takes it seriously. And it's kind of the same thing with this. Our main character suffers from anxiety and depression, OCD tendencies, when it suits her. That was another thing that was kind of difficult. I know what the author was trying to do. The author was trying to show that it can happen at any time. Like, it's not a switch that they can turn on and off. Unfortunately, that's kind of how she presented it. When she was... So for mental health people, when they're in a situation that's a little bit out of their control, they try to... That's when it's a trigger. It's another word that we like to use today. That is a trigger for things like their depression and anxiety. And that's what she was trying to portray in here. Unfortunately, what happened was it ended up being kind of a cop-out to really get the mystery going. So it felt choppy at times. There we go. And I don't know if that was deliberate or not. I really don't. I just don't think it was done as well as it could have been. And that's going to be hard to do well. So I'm giving her that one. Another thing is we have one major mystery going throughout the whole book, and it's a mystery. It's kind of this game that is played, but you don't know the rules, you don't know the players, you just have to figure this game out. So that is going to play throughout all 3 books, and I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of resolution as to what exactly is going on with this game in the 3rd book. Then you have a secondary mystery, which you then can solve with each book. In the first one, it has to do with the kind of rich school and then the basic school. How do I put... I'm trying to figure out a way to do this without spoiling it. So from the rich school, it sounds like it's a rich school thing, there are teens disappearing. And they're trying to figure out, is it something sinister? Is it a cult type thing? What is going on? And so B ends up befriending some of the teens that are playing this game from the rich school. So only the rich school knows this major game that's kind of going throughout the other one. And she ends up befriending them to try to figure out where these teens are disappearing to. And that's kind of the secondary or main mystery of this book. And it was another kind of simplistic, almost letdown mystery at the end. But I'm reminding myself this is a scholastic book. I would say this is YA, or maybe upper middle grade. I don't think I would do it. You know, my 12-year-old is not going to really enjoy that, but maybe, you know, a little bit older would. So there was that one. And then kind of going into the second one, would not read them out of order because there is things in here that kind of would end up ruining this one. I think you would be able to figure it out pretty quickly. If you know what's going on here, you'd be able to figure that one out pretty well. But in this mystery, you've got kind of, so B ends up getting like some death threats, for lack of a better word, and then she ends up with articles that kind of point to certain deaths. And honestly, like, now that I'm thinking back, I'm like, I don't think we ever learned who sent this to her, or that's something I completely missed. I'll be honest, about halfway through, I was really trying to push to the end of this book. I was getting to this point where I didn't care. It's not that I didn't like it, but I was just, this is where I feel like in both books, they're there. But I think in this one, the author really wanted to push an agenda. And her beliefs definitely do not line up with mine. There's climate stuff in here. She kind of disparages conspiracy theories, which that doesn't bother me, but in so doing, she ended up validating some conspiracy theories, which I thought was a little... you're not going to catch it unless you kind of know that world. But it was almost like she was mocking those that believe in conspiracy theories. Like, she was mocking it just so that nobody will believe anything. But the problem is that she also brings in science, like everything can be backed up with science. And one of the things that she says in here is, well, yes, we do that. That's something that we've always done, which was a conspiracy theory, which she mocked earlier. And so it's kind of, huh? So there was a little bit of that. Again, it was a lot of what she really wanted to do was create a science book that people or teens would really be interested in. And so there was a lot of info dump. And honestly, my kids are not going to care. You're going to get some kids that will find it fascinating and interesting, but you're not going to get enough of it to make it worthwhile to put all of that information in, like how this works and how that works, and I don't even know if it really added to the story or it gave me a clue as to who it was. It was just info dump. So there was a couple of those that really was like, okay. So we had some characters come in here that were from the show. So we had Sheriff Tucker, I always say Tucker, but it's not Tucker. Sheriff Tupper. Sheriff Tupper. We had Grady showed up. That was when I was, Aunt Jess does show up, I think like once or twice in each book, which was another thing that was really confusing to me. If this is Grady's granddaughter, Grady is dead, how is Aunt Jess still alive? If this has to take place, I think the Murder, She Wrote was in the 80s. I mean, that's almost 40 years later, and Jess would be dead. Or not as alert as she was in here. So, okay. As a whole, I think I gave them all 3.5 stars. They were interesting. They weren't terrible. Personally, I think if she left out that it was Aunt Jess's great niece and just kind of had it. Oh, that was the other. That's another thing with her. Would be, she is a writer for a newspaper. First kind of anonymously, and then more out there investigative writer. That's what she wants to be. And I think that was kind of like her tie into Aunt Jess, the writer, and the mystery. But it really doesn't fit our main character. I don't like our main character. I don't like her. And so, I mean, the first line in the second one says, B. Fletcher has never met a cold case she didn't want to solve. Well, actually, throughout the whole thing, she's kind of whining that she is having to solve these things in some way, shape, or form. Like, she's intrigued and then she whines about it. Anyway, all right, that's my thoughts on these. I have somebody that I think is going to like these, so I'm going to send them to her. I'm curious to see if she'll have very similar thoughts to me. But I think she'll like them, and so I don't feel too bad for spending money on them. And I think that's a wrap. I think it's a wrap for the books that I read this month. I do have a request to do the book tag, like annoying book tag, so I'm going to film that next so I can hopefully have some kind of consistent routine coming up here on the channel. What I actually, this was something I was thinking of. My daughter was reading the back of these and she's like, wow, it sounds similar to one of the most recent book TikTok, or most recent book she read. I'll put it here. She's like, wow, it sounds very similar to that. So I'm curious if she would read these and give me her opinion on them. I wonder if I can talk her into that. She has so much going on though. And I don't want to hold these forever. We'll contemplate on that. Alright. Other than that, catch you next time. Until next time, have another cup of coffee, read another chapter.